Hi guys, and welcome to another video on StocksFC. Today I am pitching in with my thoughts on the Starman debate. So let's get into it. So first of all, what's this all about? Basically, StocksFC has a 5% floor, which is going to be removed. So the 5% floor is actually from the IPO price. Now, as most players have increased past the IPO price, as well as like a decent amount of users now, it's very, very rare that anyone's going to sell to the floor, that 5% floor. So instead, the community and the team have decided to remove the floor. They're probably going to replace it either with like a 1% floor or a 0.1% floor, just so you can get rid of dead players from your portfolio at some point. But we don't really need it because it's so low. It just doesn't have much of a benefit. And there is a lot of money sitting there under every single player on the platform. So in total, roughly, 5% of every IPO sale goes to the floor, and 5% of every IPO sale goes to the Team of the Season wallet. So at the moment, the Team of the Season wallet is 66,000. So roughly close to 67,000 in pounds. So roughly, it's going to be a similar amount. It might be a little bit different because some players have had their floor touched. For example, Digne, early on, some people sold him to the floor when he looked like he could be going to Saudi Arabia. And then I think a few others may have touched it out, but it's a very small amount of shares. Also, the Team of the Season wallet had money taken out of it for the Kane refund at the start of the season. So we don't have the exact figure, or I'm sure we could actually work it out, to be honest, but actually, I don't think we could. Anyway, roughly around 67,000 is there to be used as a new reward. So the first option that we have, which has been put forward by the community, is like the traditional Starman, which I think should be called Player of the Week, and I think it should be only a weekly reward. So let's get into it. So roughly, say, by the end of the start of next season, that pot is about £70,000. If we pay out 3%, or StocksFC payouts 3% of that £70,000, that means there's £2,100 per week to be paid out to a player, or at least for the first week, and then from that point, whatever. You understand what I'm saying? So £2,100 to be then divided by the amount of shares in supply of the player who wins. So the average share amount is 8,800 on the platform at the moment. That would equal a 23.6p payout, which would be massive, especially when we compare that to the current Team of the Week payout for the current levels of the wallet. So roughly the wallets at the moment are about 100k. 5% of that is then 5k. Then divide that by 11. You're then looking at £454.50 divided out per player. So then you divide that by the shares the player has. So for example, we use 8,800 again, as it's just the average share price. That's 5.1p. So as you can see, that's the top player of the week would have an absolutely massive payout comparatively to the Team of the Week. 23.6p. More than what they would normally get. So then obviously you've got to add the 5p on top of that as well, which they would have had for being in Team of the Week as well, because they'll win the Team of the Week payout as well. So that's 26p.7, say. That to me would add a massive jackpot element to the game, which we currently, I personally think we do have the jackpot thing covered with the Team of the Season, the Team of the Month as it grows. I don't actually think the platform's missing it, but a lot of players do want that big win ability. So for me, this is a really great way of getting it. I like this idea. I'll just quickly cover that 3%. Why have I picked 3%? At the moment, they currently pay out 5% of each wallet, but as we've had a whole season of contributing to this pot, and then all of a sudden paying out 5%. That pot would then decrease. Where when I think if you set it at 3% to start with, it's a lot more likely to stay flat and sustainable. So yeah, that's why I meant those figures. As well, 3% of 70,000 it's a massive amount still. So for me, this is probably the best suggestion, maybe. Certainly for this one. Moving on to the next one, which is the positional Starman. Now, this would be a payout to the 3 highest positions. There has been some discussion in the community. Chris has said that maybe attackers, midfielders should get their own categories that they're competing in by themselves, and then defenders and goalies are then clumped together. I really am against defenders and goalies getting clumped together. I just don't think it makes sense. Goalies can hit big peak scores, and to just lump them with the lowest scoring averages that are defenders, for me, just feels a little unfair. I think a much more fair way to do it would be to let everyone compete. So therefore, if a midfielder ends up with the lowest point score, they're the ones that miss out the payout. The defender can get the payout, the goalie can get the payout, the attacker can get the payout. But on this example here, right now, I've got, for example, attacker. The top scoring attacker scores 95. The highest scoring midfielder gets 88. The defender would then get 72 points for the week, and the goalie would end up with. Hang on, let me move that. Goalie only gets 67 points. So for the goalie, because they are not in the top 3 positions for the week in terms of point scoring, they then would not get a payout. So once again, we use the same sort of numbers that we used before. So we have 2,100. We divide this by 4. Now, why are we dividing this by 4? Because I think that by doing the positional star man, if you divide it, it depends how you do it, right? There's plenty of ways. This is an example of showing it by a 50%, 25%, 25% split, which then gives that proper star man, overall top guy gets an advantage. So, for example, the attacker would get, in this example, double what the midfielder and the defender would get. So then you're getting that jackpot, you're rewarding the top player, but then you're also rewarding the other positions, which I think which makes sense in a way. Because the scoring matrix isn't perfectly balanced between all players, and nor do I think we want it to be perfectly balanced between all players and positions. It doesn't really make sense to do that, because then you'll end up with like defensive mids just having really... That was sort of what FI was, where you have the centre mids that just passed a lot ended up with like really high scores, and it was like, what have they done all game? Like, yeah, they've passed it really well and they've got on the ball a lot, but they haven't made a difference to the game in terms of scoring and the big actions in football. So this would be a good little compromise of how to keep it fair for the matrix. You wouldn't have to change the matrix in any way particularly. I think this is another great suggestion. Obviously, you could change the percentages. You could have, I don't know what the numbers would be, say... what numbers could you do? Basically, you change the percentage of 50% to 60%, for example, and then have 20%. And then that would obviously equal 100% in total. But then the overall star man would get a higher score, and then the other positions would get a little bit less. But it's still on top of the team of the week, and would be a nice little bonus payout to everyone. Once again, I'm also in favour of this, to be honest. Once I've seen it down... the numbers down with examples, it's still a really big payout. So I really like this idea as well. Does it cover this sort of mega jackpot that people want? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure. But yeah, personally, both of the first 2 options I really, really like and wouldn't have anything against them. But I really don't sort of want to see defenders just lumped with goalies. I think that's unfair, and I think that's people talking with goalies in their portfolio. I do have all the goalies, but I also don't love them. And I think watching actual it is a bit of a mismatch with the matrix. Like, saves just seem to be a little bit overpowered compared to footballing actions. Like, you can make 3 saves straight at you, and then that's worth the same as sort of that's worth more than an assist and a key pass, for example. So I'm just not so sure about it. But anyway, moving on to the last option, which is the 100 Club. This is an idea that I don't really like. Basically, it enables a rollover jackpot. So any player that scores 100 points will then win the total amount of the jackpot that's sitting there. So, for example, what were the numbers we were using? We were using 2,100, say, as the prize pool for the first week. If no one wins that prize pool, the next week it then goes to 4,200. Say in the second week, someone then scores over 100 points for the game week, as in a single score, they would then win the payout. That would then make an absolute massive payout. My slight concerns with this is, like, I don't have the data of how frequently 100 is scored. We obviously have historical data that's been recorded by players, particularly Chris, so far on the game, but we haven't had all players IPO'd. So there's a very good chance that we're missing a lot of times when players have scored 100 points or not, just because they haven't been IPO'd onto the platform yet. So that would be one of my concerns, like, when you end up with 3 players hitting 100, does that ever happen? Has that happened in the history of the Premier League? I'm not sure. We would have to really backdate it and use data. I'm not really in favour of it. But then again, that could come down to personal bias, because at the moment, I don't have Kevin De Bruyne, I don't have Mohamed Salah. And those are the players that are likely to hit 100 more often than other players. Of course, it's possible that your lesser players are going to hit 100 points. But yeah, for me, it just seems like it's just a little bit random. Plus, you just don't know when that 100 is going to be hit. And if it happens, I don't know. I'm just really not in favour of this. Just because it's not as... you can't calculate it as well. Well, at least when you know a set amount is being paid out per week, it's sort of there in stone. I don't know. For me, I don't really like the 100 club idea. I think more players will hit 100 than what people have been thinking. And yeah, I also think Goldie's going to hit it more frequently than people were expecting. Which, just because they rack up 7 saves, say, or 8 saves, a team winning a clean sheet, and then all of a sudden they've got star man, and it's like, of this super jackpot, the best score that's been scored in 3 weeks, say, and it's like, yeah, but that definitely was not the best performance of football that we've seen for the last 3 weeks. I don't know. For me, I'm not a fan of the 100 Club. But again, the comments, say which ones you like, which of the 3 options you most prefer. I really don't mind between the single star man and the positional one. Originally I was the positional guy, and then I moved over to the one jackpot thing, just because I'm just fed up with owners talking about they don't want a jackpot prize on a long-term sort of style platform that StocksFC is. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like on the video, it helps me out a lot. Subscribe, and see ya.